We would definitely see that. And the reason I suppose that they're panicking is there's a lot of things going on in the market, and I suppose with COVID, they're mortgage approved for 6 months, so they want to buy this property within that 6-month period. And they're afraid that things are going to change with COVID, and maybe after the 6 months, they may not get the approval again. So yes, they're panicking that they need to buy this house within that period. And equally, there's no stock. So if you put something to the market and it's what they are looking for, they're going to bid, and possibly silly bidding possibly is going to go on. They want it.
Carol, thanks so much for taking the time to chat to us tonight. Is that your experience, Marian?
I think we're in a very unusual time. So people, if they're buying for the very first time in particular this quarter, they're not experiencing a normal market at all. So I think people need to understand that in a normal functioning marketplace, you can view a property and you can take a bit more time. It's a very important decision. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, and we are hopeful that by early May we'll be allowed to do viewings again. And in that circumstance, you can go in, have a look at the property. So I would say to people, don't panic now. Stock is really tight. And part of that reason for that tightness is that if you were going to sell your property, you might say, well, if I can't see anything I want to buy, I'm going to wait. So it's an artificial market now. Just wait a couple of weeks once viewings come back, and we really do believe that we can show properties in a very safe way. An empty property being viewed by one party is very safe.
Because it's pretty crazy just watching those great couples there, that people are bidding on houses, like bidding, as Rita said, and they've never been inside the door of the house.
Yeah, so the virtual world is allowing them to look at what the property looks like. But if you want to buy something, you need to get inside the door. And I do think that it is possible to allow people to go inside properties, view them, and keep the market functioning and allow a normal level of activity to return. We have, at the moment, very low stock, and that frenzied behaviour is artificially moving prices, and that's not good.
Lorcan, what everyone watching tonight, they just want to know, should I buy, should I sell, should I wait?
I think Marian's advice is obviously spot on, that we're in unusual times and people should hold off, but all the evidence says that people aren't holding off, and people have had a long opportunity now to save money. A lot of people have moved homes, so they have a deposit together, and they're going out and they're buying when they can, and they're making decisions around the size of property and that they want to own instead of rent. And a lot of people, as supports Carol's, Carol Kelly's ideas, that people are moving down the country, and the CSO released figures today that would absolutely support what she says. So the southeast showed the greatest house price growth in the last year, and then followed by the west of Ireland. And a lot of those people are people moving out of cities and moving back to where they came from originally with money. So Marian's advice is spot on. Take your time, hang on. But obviously people have money in their pockets. They have a deposit, probably looking at better value down in places like Foxford than they can get in and around the major urban cities like Dublin and Limerick and Galway, and deciding we're going to go for it because we have the money and we have an opportunity.
Sounds like, though, it's a pretty dysfunctional market at the moment.
And it is a very unusual period. So I think in the normal first quarter of a market, this is usually where first-time buyers come out. The building sites are open. They can go in and look at new properties and second-hand properties. And without that access, people can start to panic if it is their first experience. There is, spring is here. We're going to see more properties coming to the market. The construction sites are reopened, so more choice will become available. I think in terms of the movement around the country, it does look like price inflation is greater outside Dublin. I think more a function of really, really tight supply. We haven't been building very many houses in recent years, and where we have been building them, it's mainly in the urban centres like in Dublin. So Limerick and Galway haven't had that opportunity to replenish their stock. So I think it is a reflection of that as well. But, it's not, you shouldn't judge a market based on a couple of months. And, we haven't seen price inflation significantly in recent years. The level of price growth now is in still low enough single-digit figures. So be patient, look at the stock and make a long-term decision. And I think that will be good advice.
And look, the property market was in bad shape before the pandemic. So what does it mean? What's it like now?
Well, the property market has never been in perfect shape and never will be. It never has. Going back to Oireachtas space from the 1950s, I was looking at during the week, the same arguments, the same debates have cropped up. I think, it's very short. A year is a very short time to start making policy on that basis, or to start making any predictions about what's happening. But I suspect there will be a small cohort of people who will permanently decamp because they can. They have the jobs and they have the money that allows them to do that. There will be a lot of people who will have to go back into the hurly-burly of renting and living in the city, people whose jobs mean they have to be there, and a lot of employers, not just in the service sector, but a lot of employers want their employees back in the office as soon as they can. So I suspect that although we will see, a certain cohort decamping to the country where they see better value, they can own the property, more space if they want to have kids, all that kind of stuff. I think for the vast majority, in probably the next year, it'll be Groundhog Day all over again, if you know what I mean, and we'll be back into the hurly-burly of it.
And Marian, are you all expecting there to be a big splurge, like a big influx of people selling as soon as the restrictions, I suppose,
I think it will improve. Definitely, we'll see more stock because, we are artificially low now. This is the lowest quantity of properties available for sale that we've seen in 10 years. So we look at it every 6 months. In January of this year, there was 15,000 units in the entire country. 10 years ago, that was 55,000. So this is a really unusual period. And that's only exaggerated further by the fact that viewings aren't available to us. So it is really important that in a safe environment, we get that property market back open again.
And we need the builders to build. Will the builders build?
Yeah, I think they will when they come back. The question is how many will they build? And we did well last year. We got 20,000 houses in the middle of the COVID crisis, which was great. The important thing to note out of those 20,000 houses, and it's the same every year, only about 7,000 or 8,000 actually come to the market. The rest are bought by the state, or they're one-off houses, or they're bought by institutional funds. So you're only getting about 40% of whatever we build is actually available, in Sherry Fitzgerald or on myhome.ie for people to actually go out and purchase. So the more houses we see being built, the greater number of houses will come on the market for first-time buyers. But it's never quite the 20,000 that we build every year.
Yeah.
Marian?
I think we're expected to see somewhere in the order of 16,000 or 17,000 this year. That is at least 20,000 too little. So we've a long way to go to get this market back into some